What podcast reviewer 37 describes as an indiscriminate hellish ride that I would not wish on my worst enemy. The industry's elite have said time and again, man, fuck those guys. Get ready, if your ears had butts, they'd about to be fucked. Welcome to the Butt Fuck Nowhere Show. Oh man, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Butt Fuck Nowhere Show.
And we're getting F'd in the B in the numbers.
Yeah, we're getting fucking bent over and railed. Big Dick Randy is having his way with us, that's for sure. I think he's going in raw this month. Fucking definitely finishing inside of us, that's for sure. We're going to be literally shitting some dude's jizz out of our assholes for the next fucking 4 to 6 business weeks.
With the possibility of a prolapsed anus.
Oh man, have you seen videos of that? That one chick, that porn star chick?
I might have seen it once. I don't remember.
Oh,
I might have blocked it from my memory.
I've jerked off to that video a couple times, like in the past. Just
in the past,
I wish I was lying.
In the past
3 months.
In the past, how recent are we talking?
Just earlier today.
You remember when I went to the bathroom?
Yeah. I have that video on my fucking on my phone.
Your rotation.
It's just in there. Anyways, today we're gonna be talking about jury duty and how it's fucking fake and gay and stupid. Also, if you want to follow us, go to Game Rage Magazine, Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. Go to substack.com/@GameRageMagazine. If you want to follow Adam at All Gas No Trash Official on Instagram and follow him on substack.com/@AllGasNoTrashOfficial. All B's, no knees. I don't know. Anyways.
Shit happens when you party naked.
Hey, that's my line, you son of a bitch. I like how you always give me shit about that line.
I still don't know what it means. And I don't even know if it's real. Because I haven't found it on the internet.
It's gotta be. There's no way I made that up, all right? There's no fucking way. Just like, okay, again, apparently I also made up So Sad Many Such Cases because I haven't been able to find that anywhere either. And I swear to God, maybe the Mandela effect is just us being retarded. Maybe that's what it is. Like, we think things were there, but we just made it up in our heads.
Or you made a bastardized version and you can't find the original source, and now
you just feel like you just made it up.
Yeah, now it's just an original thing.
Yeah, I guess. Either way, I'll take it. Anyways, man, jury duty is the worst. I will say this though, especially if like you don't get paid, like if you work a regular job and you don't get paid to go to jury duty, it really fucking sucks ass.
That's where you pull. That's where you pull the old Yu-Gi-Oh trap card and say, it's a financial hardship, bitch.
I can't afford to not be here.
Yeah.
Your job can't fire you, but they also don't have to pay you. And I'm sorry, the $7 a day plus 3 cents a mile that I have to drive is not going to do it for me.
That's not going to work for me, brother.
Yeah, it's the literal Hulk Hogan. No, that's not going to work for me, brother. I'm going to need a little more scratch than that. But
can I just say?
Yeah.
They need to do something about the summons material that you get within the mail. I need to be jazzed up going to jury duty because I'm already not excited about going.
What do you mean the paper's 2 different colors?
Yes, but I mean
that's jazzy.
Yes, but I mean the wording should be different. It should be more festive.
Congratulations.
Yes, it should be like that. It should read, "Hey, you've been invited to the fucking Justice League. It's your responsibility to serve humanity and the United States
by convicting criminals."
Yeah. Like, that would get me fired up if I was going to I'm going to be part of the Justice League? Wow. Fuck yeah. But no, you just get, it's by the numbers, man. It's like, the
odds were not in your favor this go around.
Here's your ID. And then the worst part is, man, is when they tease you, they constantly tease you. Oh, I don't know if you're going to have jury duty tomorrow.
Oh, that is the worst fucking part.
I don't fucking know, but check back at 5:30 and beyond to see if you're going to get called up. your group has been postponed until the next day, and then Friday comes along. Actually, you know what? We're gonna need you to come in on Friday.
You know what the worst one is? It's when you get the thing saying, cool, you go all week. You go Monday, you check Sunday night, and they're like, nope, you don't got to come in. Cool, you check Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. And you're like, so far, cool. But when you go to Thursday night, it says, check back again Friday morning at 9 a.m. And you're like, fuck. So you check at 9 a.m. and it says, check again at 1 p.m. And then you check at 1 p.m. and it's like, okay, you don't have to go. Fuck, man, just tell me I don't gotta go. All right, like, just why you gotta cock tease me like that?
Yeah.
The last time I had jury duty, which was just like, I don't know, fuck, what was that, like a year and a half ago, a couple years ago? I got called in the first fucking day.
Well, at least they didn't keep you waiting around.
And yeah, they called me in on a Monday, and they were like, oh, I got there at fucking whatever, 9 a.m., 9:10, I was sitting in a fucking courtroom.
Oof.
And they were like,
why do you think you got picked?
Oh, I can tell you exactly why I got picked, because I told them that I get paid to be here. Because at my slave job, I get paid my normal hourly rate if I have to go to jury duty. So I told them, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I get paid. Because that was one of the questions they asked was, do you get paid to be here? Like, does your job pay? And they eliminated, well, if you're employed and you're on an hourly basis, does your job pay you to be here? And they dismissed everyone up off the bat that did not get paid. Mm-hmm. And I guess that must have been something that the two attorneys came to an agreement on at the beginning, that they only wanted people who wanted to be there. And so then they were like, okay, of everybody else, anyone does not want to be here, raise your hand. And then some people raise their hands and they say, okay, you're all dismissed. And then I was like, damn it, why couldn't I have asked me that other question first? And then I could have but I'm like, whatever. I guess for me, it's not that big of a deal because, like I said, I do get paid, and I essentially just get a vacation and I get a free vacation and don't have to go to my fucking slave job. And I get to drive a lot closer. So for me, it wasn't a big deal. But yeah, I said that. And then when I got called up, they ask you questions about stuff. And I'm just like, I was like, I'm willing to look at it from multiple angles. Like, I just kept saying like these ridiculous answers. And like, yeah, I do a little thing where I touch the nose, like, give me a little this, we'll have a good time. And so the case that I got assigned to was like, it was domestic violence. And so I got picked. I got picked first. I was like the one they were like, oh yeah, we both want this guy. We both agree on this asshole. And so jury selection, they let me know right away. And they're like, hey, we're probably not going to finish today. So it was me and like two other people that got picked like right out the gate. And they said, all right, you three can go home. Come back tomorrow. Well, you know what? Just go home and we'll call you. Just be on standby and we'll call you when we finish the pick of the rest of the jury. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I went home. Here, they're like, here, take this. Tell your work you've been selected and you're good to go. And I'm like, cool. So I send it in and they're like, all right. So I said, damn. I was like, I wonder how long I can fucking milk this shit out for. So what I ended up doing was when we had the trial start, the trial itself lasted like, I think 4 days. And then, because the trial started, I think it took 2 or 3 more days to do jury selection. And then we had to go in every day. We didn't have to stay for the whole day, but we had to go in since we had already been picked. And then they said they'd let us go, like, they either let us go early or they'd make us come in later in the afternoon. So I was there for like a couple hours every day. For that took like, I think another 3 days. And then they were like, on the third day, it was like Thursday already. So they were like, it's kind of late in the day. And they're like, you know what? Let's just start on Monday. And I was like, fuck yeah. And they're like, oh, but you got to be available. So you all can't do anything. So here's your notes for work. So then I didn't have to do shit. I had Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. And then I had to report back at 9 a.m. or whatever on like that next Monday. I'm like, fuck, I already got a free week right now. And I was like, they said they anticipated the trial was going to take 4 days. And I think it went exactly 4 days. And it went all the way to the end of the 4th day. And they were like, well, all right, cool. So the court does not meet on Fridays. So they're like, you guys get to not come back, but you have to be available for whatever reason. So they're like, come back on Monday. And I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. So I burned another week. And then when we got into the first day of jury deliberation, this was a domestic violence case. And like, I already don't like the police anyways, and this cop did a terrible job with like gathering evidence, and I basically got this dude another mistrial, like because I was the first person because I was the only person when we went. It was the 12 of us. I was the only motherfucker that said not guilty, and so then obviously when you're the only one, because these assholes just want to get out of here, and I'm like, they're like, okay, well, like they send in the verdict because I was not the foreman. So they send in the verdict and they're like, it's 11-1 or whatever. And they're like, okay, well, in order to get a conviction, like you have to have everybody or whatever, everybody has to agree. And so they're like, okay, well, they gave us back instructions and said like, okay, well, figure it out. And so I said, how about this, guys? Instead of you trying to convince me, why don't you just let me give my presentation of why I think this dude's not guilty? And then you all can collectively or individually tell me why I'm wrong. Like, I'd be curious, because I'm just curious to hear. And I said, if all 11 of you, after I give you this presentation, still tell me that I'm wrong, then I'll fucking change my vote to guilty. And so they were like, okay. So I get up there and I say, all right, here's these things, A, B, C, of why I think this dude, why I think based on what they showed us, why there's not enough evidence to convict this dude of the crime that he's accused of doing. And I went through the whole thing. I gave like a fucking, I don't know, I gave like an hour-long TED Talk on this whole thing. And then I said, okay, so now let's just go. I said, fuck it, let's just go across the room. I said, you're right here to my left. What do you say? Tell me why I'm wrong. And this chick was like, fuck, now you got me thinking about it. And I was like, oh, fuck, I got another 3 days out of this easy. And so then I said, okay, well, tell me why you're thinking about it. And so then she said, well, you bring up good points about like the lack of evidence collection and how like, oh, the pictures that they showed us were taken like a week later. Because I had specifically asked them how long were those pictures taken because they weren't at a hospital. They were at some house. And I'm like, it didn't look like the house that the original pictures of where the incident allegedly took place were. And so I'm like, how come the deputy from the sheriff's department didn't go to the hospital? I said, listen, I'll tell you. And I've just said, because like, you know, I have a background in law enforcement. So like, if you do a domestic violence case, you go to the hospital with them and take pictures there at the hospital after it happened, or you do it on scene. Like this guy didn't do none of that shit. And all of a sudden we're getting these pictures that were taken from like a week or two later. I was like, listen, if we're judging the evidence based on what it is, she could have got all this shit in the last 2 weeks. Like, we don't know, you know, how these injuries happened. Like, there's no connecting evidence to prove that is related to this incident. Too much time passed. And I'm like, so like, you got all the photos of all the evidence that they're showing that's the reason why he did it. We can't consider that because they waited till 2 weeks later. And as I said to everybody, if it was you that was sitting on there and maybe you got into an argument with your wife about money, which is what this was about. It was some argument about money. And you guys, like, you know, your wife is crazy because this lady was crazy a little bit. And she starts shoving you and, you know, she trips and falls and hurts herself and then calls the cops on you. Wouldn't you want us to consider all the evidence and all the possibilities? And I'm like, if you tell me that you took pictures 2 weeks later of these quote unquote injuries, well, my question is, how come A, you didn't take them at the scene so we could see, oh yeah, this is definitely caused by that. And B, if it's not caused by that, how do we know? Like, how do we know? Right. So I got that going. Then there was another thing where they had brought her they brought the person who was the wife, the victim. They brought her up on the stand and she gave a full testimony in Spanish with a translator. And one of the things that I didn't really think anything of it because I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. You know, they're, you know, foreign. So like she needs a translator. That's cool. Well, when they asked her to spell her name for the record, she couldn't fucking give the letters in Spanish. And I'm like, I know what the letters are in Spanish. So how does this lady not know if she's a native Spanish speaker? And she kept fumbling over words. So one of the things that the defense attorney brought up later on was that this was the third time this had gone through trial. And he asked her after the thing, what language did you testify in the previous 3 times? And she said English. And so I said, oh, this was a tactic of the prosecutor to make her seem more sympathetic. Like she's an immigrant. She doesn't speak English. She got beat by her husband who speaks great English. Like, because they're both from Mexico. And so it's like, oh, this is the prosecutor trying to make this sympathetic so they can get a dub here and get this thing slam dunk. So, let's have her testify in Spanish. So in that way, it makes her seem, again, like I said, more sympathetic because, you got people that's like, oh, she doesn't know English. Like she'd be, whatever. But then she fucked herself because so then I brought that up too. I was like, already this lady is fucking clearly lying about certain things. And I'm like, if you testified 3 previous times in English and now all of a sudden on the 4th go around, you want to testify and have a translator, that really calls into question, like, okay, why is that? Why is that? It's because you're trying to garner some sort of sympathy or whatever. So you're trying to make it look worse than it is, or you're trying to get some sympathy to get a conviction. I was like, that kind of threw me off. And then I said also, when they were asking her questions, like she contradicted herself a bunch of times about like certain things. And yes, maybe it was because she, it was going from, she had testified all this shit previously in the 3 times previous in English. Maybe she forgot the story a little bit and now she had to translate it back into Spanish. I don't know. But she contradicted herself a lot. And I'm like, all right, like, they pointed out a contradiction that she did that was a very big one. I forget what it was off the top of my head. But I'm like, okay, if they caught her in a lie on this, then obviously there's no video. There's nothing showing what happened. This guy is saying like, hey, like, my wife and I have been in incidences in the past, but it was reversed where she pulled a knife on him. And then like, it was like she was the aggressor. And so he had said like, because he came up and testified and he said, yeah, like, we got into an argument, she shoved me, I put my hands up, and then she fell and hit her head on this desk. And like, but I didn't touch her, I didn't hit her, I didn't do none of that. And so, again, based on the fucking shit they showed us, I'm like, I don't think you can say beyond a reasonable doubt this guy actually did this. Like, the damage that they're claiming he did. So I'm just like, because they had these pictures of her rib cage, and she's like a large-chested woman. And so they had these pictures of her rib cage with these marks on them. And so I said, listen, guys, I was like, I don't want not to get too graphic, but like my wife is also a large-chested woman. And listen, I see her naked all the time. And those lines, it might look like it's from like, oh, the desk, because they were trying to say it was from the desk when he pushed her into it. And like he basically was beating her on the desk or whatever. And I'm like, dude, those are from the bra. Like that's from her bra. Like you can easily see it. Like, and I'm like, you guys are women here. Do you agree with me? And they're like, well, now that you mention it, like, yeah, that kind of does look like that. So I'm like, okay, so we're getting painted this picture that's not exactly 100% true. So I said, remember, our instructions at the beginning was we have to believe beyond all reasonable doubt that this guy is guilty of committing these crimes. That is what the judge fucking told us, right? And I'm like, based on the evidence shown, and there's a lot of other things they could have done to make it so that's beyond a reasonable doubt. But at the time of the incident, they didn't fucking do any of this shit. So it's like, fuck, we can't convict this guy. I can't at least. So, and I had literally swayed like basically over half of the people to go to the not guilty side by the end of it. So then I sucked another week out of this because then it came to Friday or Thursday and they were like, all right, well, you guys haven't come to a decision. They're like, you know what? We're going to give you guys 2 hours on Monday morning to see if you can come to a decision. And basically they're like, if not, so they're like, go home, come back on Monday morning. Cool. We came back Monday morning, sat in there for 2 hours, and I just got up and I was like, all right, listen, we don't even need to waste nobody's time. All right. You guys have had 3 days to think about it. Let's take a vote now and see where we're at. And everyone except for this one old dude who his whole argument was, if he's here, he's guilty. That was his whole argument.
That is so shitty.
It is shitty. And I'm like, dude, you're fucking this guy because you're just automatically like, oh no, if you're arrested by the police, you're guilty of a crime. And I'm like, what if you got arrested and you weren't the guy that did it? What would you be saying then? And he's like, well, the police don't do that. And I'm like, you're high as fuck, first of all, because they do that shit all the time. And so anyway, so that guy just would not budge. And I'm like, well, so it became a hung jury. And so I was talking to because the attorney afterwards, they wanted to, like, if any of the jurors wanted to give an explanation as to what they thought or whatever, like the attorneys wanted to like know about it so they could, it could help them do their attorneying in the future. So I wanted to go talk to the defense guy because I wanted to tell him like, hey man, when you attacked the cop on the stand for and you asked about his training that he had at the academy about taking pictures in domestic violence, I said, you know what's funny? I said, I know for a fact the domestic violence learning domain that's the police academy. I said, you didn't know this, but like I've been through the police academy. So I said, in California. So like I know what the learning domain says. And what's funny is he went like around the same time I did. So I'm like, oh, I know what it says in that learning domain. I remember. And I said, you know, I wasn't supposed to do this, but I did it anyway because I didn't remember it verbatim. I went and looked it up, and he basically said like that guy lied. He said about, oh, it doesn't tell you anything about like taking pictures or, and I'm like, oh, that's like the first fucking thing it says to do. And I was like, that guy's a lying sack of shit. So I was like, immediately I threw out all credibility of anything that the cop said at the scene. And I was like, and he didn't take any pictures, didn't do his fucking job. And then I just told him, I'm like, you know, I said, I just want to tell you, man, like this dude would have been guilty if I wouldn't have been on this fucking jury, because every single person in there was guilty except for me. And I said, because they wanted to know because he wanted to know like what was the factor that made the jury go to this hung jury. And I said, the factor was just, it was right here. You're looking at it, man. It was me. Because again, if it would have been somebody else who went along with this bullshit, this guy would have got convicted finally. And I said, it was bullshit. And I said, look, man, what do you think the odds are that they're going to try to go after him again? And he said, this was it. This is the last time that they'll run it through. He's like, they won't run it through a fifth time. So like, he's basically just going to get, you know, he's going to be off now. And this process had been like a 5-year process, because this happened like 5 years prior to like the actual date of when we were sitting in the trial. So like, this dude had been going through this shit for like 5 years.
What a pain in the ass.
Yeah. And it had cost him a bunch of money. His wife and him already had been divorced and everything like that. And what's fucked is she fucked him in the divorce. She took the kid, and she got everything she wanted out of the divorce, because they owned this company that like I forget what he did. It was some fucking manufacturing thing, but he owned a company, and it was like this multi-million-dollar company that he owned. And
she ruined his life, though.
Yeah, she did, because now she got full custody because of this whole domestic violence issue. He hasn't seen. He said, I haven't been able to see my kid in 4 years, and he's like, now that, because this has been pending, and he's like, they have basically 30 days to refile the charges, and if they don't, then he can go back to the custody court and he can request custody now, a reappraisal of custody now. So like, he's like, oh yeah, maybe I'll get to see my kid again or whatever.
That's pretty sad.
And his kid doesn't know who he is, probably because his kid was like 3 at the time.
Oof.
And his kid was also used as a weapon to testify against him. And that was one of the things that was really sad that also got me too, was he said like, hey, like he went up there and this was the first time he testified. And he said, listen, I didn't want my kid to be brought up here again, because they've already brought him up 3 times. So he's like, I told them that I would come on here and testify. I'd waive my right or whatever, and I would testify if they didn't bring my kid up here again, if they just played like the recording from before or whatever. And that's basically what they did. And so that was also fucking depressing and sad as fuck. And it's like, man, this guy got railroaded because the county prosecutor was more fucking interested in their win-loss record and wanting to get an extra dub than in serving actual justice, is what I fucking took out of it. And the original attorney that was for the county, that was the prosecutor, wasn't there. It was some other one, because I felt like that chick knew that this wasn't going to go her way this time again. So she just said, fuck it, well, I'll have a stand-in go. And so the stand-in was there, and I had asked like, hey, like what was the county's main motivation for prosecution here? And she basically was like, oh, you know, I don't really know, because I didn't handle this case. I was just here to represent the county to like hear the verdict or whatever. And she was just like, I said, what? Just out of curiosity, like, what's like the win-loss record for this lady who's the attorney? And she's like, oh, she's like undefeated. She's one of the best. And I'm like, oh, this is why, because now you're gonna have a win-loss and now you're gonna have a draw on your record, because non-convictions. You didn't get a not guilty, so you didn't get a loss, but you get like it's like a draw, basically, the mistrial. So it's like, oh, now she's going to have like a legitimate draw like on her record. And I'm like, oh, well, that explains, because this bitch wasn't even fucking interested in serving justice. She was only interested in her fucking win-loss record, essentially, which is why they were pushing this through and coming up with these fucking tactics to make the jury feel bad, to like boot this lady or to boot this guy into jail and, fuck his life up even worse. So anyways, that was my long-winded story about that. But anyways, at the end of the day, I ended up skirting like fucking 3.5 weeks of fucking time off. It was great. paid time just because I got a guy off for fucking getting convicted. So pretty good. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, again, it was a good story. And again, it did suck going there because like literally sitting there in that fucking box, like the chairs are all right. They're not super horrible when you're actually in the jury box. Like the chairs are pretty good, pretty decent. But like just listening to these assholes fucking drone on and on, because you do it in like stints. So you'll do like 3 hours and then you'll like go to lunch. And you'll go to lunch for like an hour or 2 hours, depending on like what day it is or depending on how the docket's set. And then they'll be like, oh, it's 11 a.m. Come back at like 1. Or sometimes it was even come back at 2. And then they do shit until 4 o'clock. And then they'd be like, all right, it's 4 o'clock. Yeah, let's go ahead and shut down for the day and come back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And then you literally repeat that for the 4 days of the trial. And then when you were in the jury room, supposed to be deliberating, you'd go and you'd sit there and you'd deliberate and you'd do your shit for like, you'd get 2 hours and then they'd give you like a break. And then you go back for another like hour and then they'd send you to lunch at 12. And then you go to lunch from like 12 to like 2 or 2:30. And then you come back and do like 2:30 to like 5. They generally would not want to, they want to be out of there before 5. So like they generally come in at like 4:30 and they'd be like, hey, you guys got 5 more minutes and we're wrapping it up. And then it's like, okay, then we'd be out of there by like 4:40 or whatever. So I mean, like, it does suck sitting there and then the conversations and then having shit and going back and forth. And then it's like, I was doing all the talking basically from my side. So like I was just sitting there fucking just ranting my mouth for fucking hours at a time. I was over explaining things. I was explaining things 18 different ways. Like, and that was just to draw it out. And it worked. It worked. So I got extra time to not have to go to fucking my slave job and be miserable. So anyways, other than that, jury duty does suck. The whole rest of the process, like going there and like
sitting, waiting
in that
for
room with all those assholes, dude. Everybody's a prick in there too, man. Like, there was one time I had to go and like I sat in the fucking room like all day, just sitting in there waiting. And then you just be like, oh, you just gotta wait. And I'm just like, fuck, man. And then at the end of the day, at like 4:45, they call you and they're like,
nah,
okay,
we don't need you.
Everybody can go home. And you're like, son of a fuck, you could have told me this an hour and a half ago. Now that I know that they get out, they want to get out of there before 5, like they want to get out of there. You ain't fucking doing jury selection at 4 p.m. You want to get out of there at 4. So like, why'd you keep us here for another 45 minutes, you assholes? Like, you should have known at 3:30 that they weren't going to be calling no more juries. Should have fucking just let us go. So it sucks. It's terrible. And the judge on that one that I got on, he did issue a bench warrant for someone who was selected that was not in there.
Oh shit.
So like, I thought that was funny. And they're like, oh, let's issue a warrant for this guy. And then he's going to need to appear and explain to us why he's not here. And I was like, damn. And so then they hauled that guy fucking in. They fucking called him up and told him like, hey, like, you fucking got to come in and you got a warrant and, you need to come in and fucking explain why you're not here. And I don't remember what he said, because he did come in one of the days and was like, he said some fucking excuse. And then they were like, okay, now you need to sit here and wait. And then they waited. He was the last person of that day because you either have to come in for one day or one trial. So like, it was like the last day of the jury selection. So they waited till the end and they were like, all right, now he can go. And I was like, damn, they made us sit there the whole fucking day. What a bunch of assholes. And also, judges are pricks. 100%. They do not fucking, they are like, they throw their weight around, and I do not fucking, I don't know, I kind of don't like that. They're not like down the middle like they should be.
In what way?
Just in like the treatment of people. Like with that guy, right? Okay, so technically, yeah, he didn't show up, right? So like, and he would harp on this guy too. Like he would say comments and shit about him like the whole day. Like he would just say shit like, oh yeah, like somebody would ask him a question, and then like the judge would interject and be like, oh yeah, like Mr. fucking Belvedere over here, or whatever the fuck the guy's name was. And then like I was like, God damn, man, like, okay, we get it. Like, yeah, this guy didn't show up. Guess what? That's something that 90% of us probably would have wanted to try out and do, okay? Yeah. I thought about doing that, all right? And if you guys would have called me, I just wouldn't have answered. And guess what? I would have waited until I got fucking pulled over, and then guess what? The cops would be like, oh, hey, there's a bench warrant for you not showing up for jury duty. Cool. You know what they're going to do? They're going to write me a citation and say, here, you need to show up to go handle this thing. And then guess what? I just keep not showing up. And then what are you eventually going to do? Yeah, I think eventually you can like they can put you in jail. But what are you going to do? I don't know. But anyways, people are assholes. Also, I learned a lot about how the justice system is fucked when I did that too. About how like, yeah, that is literally what it is like. Like some of these prosecutors don't give a fuck about like serving justice. It's about, like racking up dubs. And it's like, that's not how you should be prosecuting the law, man. It should be like.
Yeah, but when your whole job is to be.
Yeah, but like you should also
putting
be saying,
people away.
You should always be saying, okay, let me look at this objective evidence and say, okay, instead of me trying to like, gloss over certain things and like, finagle it in a way that makes it look like this guy for sure did it. Like you could look at all these evidence pieces the same as I did and go, all right. And the prosecutor knows how they're supposed to collect things and how they're supposed to do this and go, fuck, this cop fucked up. He didn't get all the right evidence. Fuck, we shouldn't even pursue this case. Like this guy's there's no way we're gonna get a conviction on this guy. And she probably was like, I could do it. I'm undefeated. I'm the one. And it's like, go fuck yourself, man. That should not be the motivator. It should be serving true justice and seeing that justice is truly given and done, not padding a win-loss record, in my opinion. But what do I know? I'm not a fucking attorney. So what do I know? Nothing, apparently. Anyways, all right, we got anything else to add other than you're probably not looking forward to going to jury duty? What is it for January?
Yes.
Oh, man, that sucks. Is it right after New Year's or is it like...
yeah, like roughly.
Dude, that sucks. So what is it, like the week of the 5th or something?
No, like the week after, I think.
Oh, okay. God, that sucks.
I feel like that's when things get rolling again. So it's either... I think this is going to play one of two ways. Number one, I'll be out day one.
Yeah.
2, I think possibly because it's early enough in the year that maybe it's just to start off the year. They're just gonna ramp people through, and they're gonna want people serving on a jury like right away, or whatever. So I'll get
on something.
I'll get put on something.
Well, if you don't get picked, then you're good after you get dismissed on the day.
Yeah.
If they throw you into a room and put you through the selection and you don't get picked, well, then cool, you get to fuck off and go home.
Yeah.
So.
It's early enough. I just don't know how this is going to play out because there's another person I know that had jury duty they got to go tomorrow.
Oh, shit.
And I have a feeling that more than likely, I think they're going to be excused because, like, what are they going to do? They're going to sign you something, and then the week after, it's Christmas, and then the week after that is New Year's. Or
maybe they'll just be like, okay, cool, like you're...
See you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, if you get selected, they'll be like, okay,
that would be painful. At least I have the luxury of this happening after the fact.
Yeah.
So it's not just, I have this in the back of my fucking mind. It's just like, cool. To start off the year in 2025, get jury duty out of the fucking way. Don't have to worry about it for another 4 to 5 years, and it'll be done with.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So. Anyways, all right. Well, fuck it. I guess we'll end it here. Go to Game Rage Sneezazine. Fucking. I don't know. Go to the social medias. Game Rage Magazine. All gas, no trash official. And let's go check those out. If you're even still listening at this point. Anyways, all right. I guess that'll be it. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
This has been the Butt Fuck Nowhere Show. Thanks for listening. Don't forget, subscribe and like on Instagram and TikTok at Game Rage Magazine. Also on Twitter/X at Game Rage Mag. Also visit our website, www.GameRageMagazine.com, for a host of other podcasts and more. Thanks for listening.